time for a book review. Haven't done one of these in a hot minute, actually. Mostly because I just haven't had time or money to get hands on books that have to do with deduction. But I've got a few books right now that I'm sifting through, and I finished the first one of the series. I guess not really a series, but of the ones that I got. And that is How to Think Like Sherlock by Daniel Smith. Not to be confused with How to Think Like Sherlock Holmes by Maria Konnikova. The names already are very similar, and that was actually the first tip-off to me that made me a little bit skeptical of this book. But I finally caved and got it anyway, just to try it and get a review for you guys. Now, here's what I think of the book. First impressions, like I said, when I was going through the books that I wanted to get my hands on, I came across this one, How to Think Like Sherlock, and initially it reminded me already of the name, How to Think Like Sherlock Holmes by Maria Konnikova, and that seemed a little sketchy to me because in this field, there are a lot of people who just kind of throw out books and information to get a quick profit, right? And that felt like that was what was going on in this book on the initial inspection. But it came up at some point. I don't remember if it was a comment that someone sent me, or maybe it was something that was sent to Jordan. I don't remember exactly, but this name came up again, and I decided I would give it a try. So I got it, and I read it. It's a very easy to read book, first of all. It's 160 pages, 180, somewhere in that field. Let's see, 168 pages, so right in that field. And I'm going with the pros first. It's broken up into easy to digest chunks, which is good. And it touches on all the elements I would expect to find in a deduction book that is geared more toward beginners than something, say, for like Ben Cardall's monographs, which is a little bit more intensive in my opinion, or Maria Konnikova's, which is again a little bit more intensive. This one is very much geared toward beginners. Pitting this book against a book like The Deduction Guide by Louise Blackwell, though, I'd say they're pretty much on par. This book does have a couple of things going for it that others do not, like going right back to the Deduction Guide. This one has puzzles and ideas for not experiments, but exercises. And reading this book gave me a good idea how to organize my own training routines, training regimens, things like that, because it does give you a good list of exercises that are good and that are good for testing and keeping you sharp. However, it's not a deep book at all. It doesn't go deep into anything that it touches. Anything that it touches on. It's just surface knowledge, basically. Daniel Smith is more listing in order everything that you want to learn and pointing you in that direction and letting you go. He's not teaching you any of it here. He's just giving you the names. And then the puzzles. Now, this is going to seem a little contradictory, because if you just heard me do my video, if you just saw one of my recent videos was my facts and frauds on Professor Layton, and I talk about how puzzles are a good way to keep the mind sharp. That's true, I stand by that. However, I never once in that book, in that video, or in any other statement, say that practicing puzzles, doing puzzles, is going to make you smarter, is going to be a substitute for actual practicing deduction. It's a good way to keep your mind sharp, simple, have fun. But puzzles and riddles, there are several points in this book where it just kind of degrades itself into being nothing more than a puzzle and riddle book, unfortunately. So if you are a beginner deductionist, or maybe a younger, or you want to get someone younger than you a book for deduction, this would be a good way to go. For starters, I'm probably going to end up gifting this book to my brother, who is beginning with deduction and his own mind palace and all that stuff. He's learning fast. So I'm probably going to end up gifting this book to him, passing it on to him and letting him study this book, because it'll get him started. If you're wanting a deeper knowledge for deduction, though, if you have your knowledge base and you've started deduction already, then this book is only going to be good for pointing you in the direction of other studies that you want to do. Or I might suggest this book if you were wanting to learn how to create a good training routine, or what exercises you can learn and what exercises you can do to keep deduction fresh for you. Those would be the two biggest points for this book. Beginners and young deductionists, or for kind of an ideas book, something to inspire you to go look into another subject, or to inspire you to build a training routine. Those would be who I would suggest this book to. Not a bad book, but definitely not the best book on deduction that I've read so far. But that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.